Let's look at the Lightroom camera. You need to go to the App Store for your device and download Lightroom Mobile. It is free. There is a paid version that opens up a few additional tools when you're on the processing side, but the camera will have everything I'm showing you right now available to you. I've already have my Lightroom open, and I'm going to go to the bottom right hand side of my screen. You're going to see a little camera. I'm going to click on that, and it brings up the camera. And I'm just going to go through the interface here with you, things I want you to look at and change. So down in the bottom left it says auto. Let's click on that and change it from automatic to professional. So that's the first thing you want to change. Then next to that, that's the button that you click to make an image. And notice when I did that, a little image popped up over on the left-hand side again where it says Pro. If I click on that, it brings the image up so I can see what I just photographed. Click it again, it goes away. Then we go over here to the further to the right, and I click on where it says W. So I go from wide to ultra wide for my camera. So if you have multiple lenses in your device, you can activate them here. Next up, we have an exposure locked. So if I have an exposure and I don't want it to change and I want to take a number of images, I'll lock that exposure. And then last on this list, I click on this bottom one, I've got some different profiles or presets of color looks that we can choose. So I'm going to click on the first one. It's high contrast preset. The next one is a flat preset. The next one is a warm shadow. So you can see it's changing the look of the images. High contrast raw, and then a flat black and white. The very first one has nothing applied to it. These are all things that you're going to be able to do when you process the file, but you might want to play with it now. I'm going to go up to the top now. The little X closes the camera and takes us back to Lightroom Mobile where we can do editing. Next to that, if I click on it, to activate a flash or not activate the flash. Right now my flash is turned off. Next up we had the DNG file format here. You can see you can choose it right here. You want the DNG. And then I come over here to the left hand side. I can reverse my camera. You guys can see me now. Hello. Or below that we've got the three little dots, and these are some options. We can choose our aspect ratio, 16:9, kind of cinematic. 3:2 is a traditional 35mm format. 4:3 is a point and shoot format. 1:1 in the old days was 6:6 film, a bigger negative than a 35mm, but today most people think of it as the Instagram look. Next to that we have a self timer, so if you want to be in the photograph or you want to steady the camera and not have any movement for a long exposure, you could use your self timer. So you've got 2, 5, and 10 seconds. Next to that we've got different grids we can choose. And when you click on them, you'll pick one that you like the best. I've been using this one a lot, this centered up grid. And then at the very end of that, we have this little guy, which is a level. So you can see right now it's not level, and as I line it back up, that line goes yellow. It means that I have a level horizon. Next up, we have hide highlight clipping or turn highlight clipping on. That'll give you an indication if your image has areas that are out of gamut. And then the next one are settings. So max screen brightness, I just leave that set to what it is. Geotag photos. So that adds your location. If you have kids, a lot of times people don't want to geotag their locations, but you can pull the geotagging off if you're going to upload it to social media. I personally like to have it on because I can never remember where I've been. And then you want to save your unprocessed original. So if you use any of those presets, you'll have the image without a preset and the image with the preset. So it gives you more options for editing down the road. And then come back over here. I think we covered all those things. Up top, we already saw that. That flips us back and forth. If we go to the bottom of the screen above where we snap the photograph, down at the very bottom, you're going to see exposure, seconds, ISO, white balance, auto, and reset. So exposure, if I click on that, I can underexpose, making the scene darker, or I can overexpose, making the scene brighter. Why would you want to do that? Well, you might want to create an effect. You might find that the camera is not doing a good job of auto choosing those things for you, you have control. I like to make things darker a lot of times. Then you have seconds. So auto, it's going to pick your shutter speed for you. But if you know you want to stop action, you're going to want to try to go for a higher shutter speed, so you can play with that in here as well. And now notice down at the very bottom it says seconds 1/3200th of a second. My image is a lot darker, so as I change this, my image is changing exposure as well. So you have some flexibility with this, is something to play with. Then you've got ISO. So you might remember a lower ISO is less noise, a higher ISO is more noise. Right now on auto, my ISO is 1128. Well, with these devices, cameras and tablets, the ISO doesn't pop up as much as it does with your point and shoot cameras, your DSLRs, your mirrorless cameras. But you still might want to come in here and play with it and see what it does. Shoot it at the highest ISO. Shoot it at the lowest, but notice what happens as I change that. Okay, so you can kind of see. So I just might play with that. The whole point of this first assignment is to just play and see what these tools do. Next up, we've got white balance. Auto white balance is going to look at the light and try to balance that out for you, but you might want to play with these others. This is tungsten, it makes things blue. Fluorescent, daylight, and a cloudy day. So you can see it's warmer. Yellow is warmer, blue is cooler. Or you can not auto, but you can do a custom white balance. So when I go back to white balance, let's do this one more time. We're going to do the custom. It says fill with a neutral surface. So I'm just going to come over here. My wall's pretty neutral. And I'm going to take a picture. And that's going to be my new auto white balance. So it's a little bluer. It's probably because it was in a little too much shadow. I'm going to go back and just click auto there for fun. So this is my manual focus option. So you can focus on different things. So you can play with that, auto focus or manual focus. The last button is to reset all of these back to their defaults. And that's what I just did. I got to tell you guys something. I just learned about that manual focus right there. So that's something I'm going to play with in the next couple of days. Well, I think that's a good little overview for you. Just go and play. And when we actually start to look at the images, you're going to be able to see what you did. And I'm going to show you how to do that in another video. Have fun.